Reading the crystal ball on the 2025 college football playoff.
College football is back, and that means it's time for the Big Mountain to make some CFP predictions.
Welcome back to the Big Mountain. I am JY. This is my good friend Steve. Steve, we are gearing up only 3 weeks away from week 0. It is time to get hot and heavy with predictions. This episode, we're going to talk about CFP predictions. I'm going to let you go first. What do you got?
I'm excited. I'm ready to go. Fall camp started today for a lot of Big Ten teams. So, of course, day one of fall camp, let's talk about who's going to be in the CFP. All right, so we're going to start at the bottom. I'm going right out the gate with, I think, a surprise team, especially from maybe a lot of non-Big Ten fans. I got number 12. I got the Washington Huskies. Jed Fish, just a real solid, good coach. They overachieved last year. They got a dynamic quarterback coming back and just a solid, really, really good team. I liked how they played in the bowl game. It's not always a great indicator, but more about their season last year, what they have coming back. So I have Washington making it out of the Big Ten into the CFP as my 12 seed. All right, so moving right along, number 11, Boise State. I think for the second consecutive year of the 12-team CFP, I think they're going to be the G6 representative. I think they're just the strongest G6 team out there. Some people say, well, they don't have Jenny coming back, whatever. And I'm sure you're going to talk about this a little bit, so I won't go too much. Assuming you have them in the playoff as well.
Yes, you don't know who I have.
That's
yet.
True. I do not. So I just think still a great team. Even without Genty, I think they might be a little more well-rounded on offense. I'm not sure that they'll get past Notre Dame, but I think that they can show enough like they did against Oregon last year. And I see them running the table, winning the Mountain West, and being the G6 representative.
Okay.
And unfortunately, with the straight seeding, I think they're going to get the short end of the stick with the seeding because I think that's just what the CFP, the committee, does with the G6 teams. So I would actually probably have them ranked higher. But I think that's where they'll be is number 11. So moving along, Arizona State again. Last year they were picked last in the Big 12 and end up winning the Big 12. I'm not making that mistake this year. I think they can continue what they did, and I think they're the most talented team. I think they have the best coaching. They got there last year. They got a taste, and I think they're going to be back for more. Unfortunately, the Big 12, I think it's just going to be hard to have – it's so even. I think they'll take a couple knocks on their record, and that's why I have them down there at 10. Which is still, hey, it's a decent spot. You're in the playoff.
Right.
Moving right along, and I'm going to go with the theme of the continued SEC and Big Ten bias because I think that's just the way the national media works, which trickles down to the committee. I've got Alabama at 9. Paul Feinbaum and the SEC damn near lost their minds last year when a 9-3 Alabama team that lost to a crappy Oklahoma squad didn't get in. It's not going to happen this year. The SEC spin machine is already going full bore. I think Alabama's going to be improved from last year. I think they'll have better quarterback play as far as throwing the ball, better offense. So I have them there at number 9. And, right after them, another kind of blue blood, not surprising program. 8, I have Ohio State. Now, some people might be surprised where I have them a little bit lower than they were thinking.
Yeah.
I think just bringing in a new quarterback, Julian Sayin, they're bringing in new coordinators, a lot of new players on both lines. I think maybe they take a step back from a national championship year.
Sure.
Still make the playoff and slip in there at number 8. At number 7, I have Tennessee again, making it out of the SEC. They got there last year, looked really good coming out of the regular season. They got smacked by Ohio State in the playoff, but I have them getting back again this year and being ranked ahead of Ohio State at number 7. Number 6, again, maybe a surprise to some non-Big Ten people, although they've been getting a lot of love lately. I think people have been watching the Big Mountain. I got number 6. I've got Illinois. I think they're a real solid team. I see them winning double digits this year. I see them a possibility they could even win the Big Ten, or at least get it into the Big Ten championship game, which I think puts them a good spot for a good seed. So Illinois, number 6. Any thoughts?
Well, I'll give you my thoughts maybe when we get to matchups. Let's throw up the slide real quick just to remind everybody from your 12 to 6. So you've got from 12 up, Washington, Boise State, Arizona State coming out of the Big 12, Bama, Ohio State there at that 8 and 9. You've got Tennessee at 7. You've got Illinois at 6. And let's get to the top 5, and then if you want to talk about some of these first-round matchups.
Sounds great.
We need to know who 5 is first before we can talk 5-12. So let's go to your 1 through 5.
Yeah, top 5. I got Notre Dame right there. I think they're still a really good squad this year. Have maybe one of the best players in the country in Jeremiah Love coming back. There's a possibility they may get better quarterback play this year as far as being a thrower, not just a runner. And their defense is still going to be good. And honestly, their schedule, I think, is just very favorable. If they get past, I think they probably get past Boise in that matchup earlier in the season. So I see a top 5 spot for them. Notre Dame slotting right in there, getting a home game. We'll talk about those matchups. And then right after them, Clemson.
That's right.
At number 4. Possibly could be going undefeated this year and fighting for a top 2 playoff spot. But I have them slotted in here at number 4. And again, we're going to see more evidence of that SEC and Big Ten bias.
Sure.
Number 3, Georgia. I have I see similar to what happened last year with Texas and Georgia being the 2 best teams in the SEC, and with Georgia coming up short in the SEC championship game, but being such a good team all year that it solidifies them in that number 3 spot.
Yeah.
And then my top 2 here. Number 2, I've got Penn State. I see Penn State going 11-1, possibly running the tables, challenging for one of those top 2 spots, and being right there at number 2. And number 1, Texas. I think Texas is just, I know you weren't such a huge fan of them last year. I think they acquitted themselves, rather well in the playoff.
Yeah.
They ran with Quinn Ewers the last 2 years. He had some injuries last season.
Yeah.
We have Arch Manning coming in this year, and I'm not totally riding. I think the Arch hype train is a little out of control.
Yeah.
However, I think he is a good player, and I think Ewers was hurt so much last year. If Arch is healthy this year, I think he gives them another dynamic, and they're just loaded all over the field. Every position group, they've just been bringing talent. Last year, they lost, I think, their 3 starting running backs early in the season. This year, they got healthy running back room coming back behind a good line. They got a great defense, and I have them as the number 1 overall team there. Number 1.
Yeah, and it seems like right now Texas seems to be the number 1 almost anywhere you look. They're kind of where everybody has them pegged there at number 1. Let's throw up the slide here, Steve, and then if there's any matchups here in the first round you want to talk about. So the 4 bye teams are Texas, Penn State, Georgia, and then coming out of the ACC, Clemson getting a potential first-round bye in Steve's bracket. Then we've got, in our first-round matchups, you've got Notre Dame versus Washington. You've got Illinois versus Boise State. You've got Tennessee versus Arizona State in that 8-9. Wow, if that happens, Bama versus Ohio State in the first round, that's a wing dinger. So any matchups you want to talk about, and then we'll get to my bracket.
Well, I'll just say real quick, I think, again, the home teams there. If you take a look, you got Notre Dame, you got 2 Big Ten teams, and you got an SEC team. I think they're going to just favor from that Big Ten, SEC, Notre Dame bias.
Yes.
Always get the credit there. The biggest matchup I see there, and I think this one could go either way as far as how the rankings go. Ohio State and Bama.
Yeah.
I think Bama a little bit better than last year. Ohio State maybe dropping, but I think it sets up for a first round matchup between those 2 programs, which would be freaking amazing for a first round matchup. And then the matchup here, I have Illinois, getting a home playoff game, which I think would be just awesome, seeing them host a home playoff game. In this scenario, I have them hosting Boise State. I think that'd be a very cool game. And Notre Dame hosting Washington. Again, Washington, I could see them getting in as a 12 seed and being one of those we haven't had really a Cinderella in college football playoff yet.
Sure.
I could see Washington finally being that Cinderella. So watch out for the Huskies this year.
Wow, that's very interesting. Well, those are Steve's CFP picks. Let's go to my CFP picks. I will tell you I have 2 teams that are different than yours. So 2 teams out of the 12 that are going to be different. And of course, we're going to have a little bit of fluctuation between where we have some teams. But let's start at the bottom and work our way up. So I actually have here at number 12, I agree with you. I think Boise is the team to beat. I have them as number 12 because I echo you. If they're 11, that would be fantastic. But I don't see very many ways in very many years that, while we're in a 12 team at least, a G6 team's gonna not be number 12.
Okay.
I'm sorry. And I hate to talk about it that way. You talked about that CFP bias and the SEC Power 2. So I just got Boise at 12 because I don't know if they have a fighting chance. Or not even them. Any G6 has a fighting chance.
I agree with you 100%, and I originally had them at 12. I just moved them so they didn't play Notre Dame again in the first round. I cheated a little.
Okay. Well, wait till you see who I have them
Okay.
playing in the first round, and
Okay.
I didn't cheat.
All right.
So going to number 10 and number 11, the two schools that I have in my bracket that you did not have, one is a Big 10, and I have a different Big 12 team. I'm actually going with Baylor being the champion from the Big 12, and I have Oregon coming in instead of Washington from the Big 10. So I have Oregon at 11. I have the Big 12 champ there, Baylor, at number 10. At the swing spot, I've got Alabama and Illinois. I know you're high on Illinois. I have Bama. You were right there at 8-9 with Bama. I'm right there at 8-9 with Bama. I think they're going to be a better team this year. And then we have Clemson at 7, and I have Tennessee at 6. And I'll stop there. I'm not going to go to my 5 yet, although I may have let the cat out of the bag here just a smidgen. But overall, Steve, I think, for the most part, we're fairly consistent. Of course, you had Ohio State down in 8th. I have not mentioned Ohio State yet. I talked about, obviously, that Baylor versus Arizona State and the Washington versus Oregon's flip-flop. But where we have those teams placed, that 10, 11, 12, they're all in the same area there as well, just maybe some different teams. Maybe the one team that I'm a little less bullish is Illinois. You had them up at 6. I have them down at 9, not getting that home playoff game that you just talked about. But here's my slide here again, real quick. So from 12 up, Boise, Oregon, Baylor, Illinois, Alabama, Clemson, and Tennessee. Although I did, Clemson I have down at 7. And of course, you had them up getting a first-round bye. I'm not quite as bullish on them being in the ACC, getting that bye. But let's get to my top 5, and then we can maybe talk about some differences. So at number 5, I have your Penn State Nittany Lions. You know me, Steve. I've got to see it before I believe it. And I can't believe it yet. I hope you're right, but I can't believe it. So I've got Penn State at 5, which of course puts Penn State versus Boise State in the first round. We'll get back.
Rematch of last year.
That's right. So my top 4, then I have Notre Dame up 1 from where you had them. I have Notre Dame at 4, getting that first round bye. I have Georgia at 3, exactly where you have them. I have Ohio State at 2, replacing Penn State because, like I said, I just can't have Penn State there. They got to show me. And then I have Texas at 1. So, other than that Penn State, Ohio State kind of flip-flop, we're pretty daggone consistent in the top 5. So let me show my whole slide here. So from 1 down, Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Penn State, Tennessee, Clemson, Alabama, Illinois, Baylor, Oregon, and Boise State. And as we said for matchups, that brings that Penn State potential. Penn State, Boise State rematch in the first round. What do you think about everything that I said there?
Yeah, I think, again, there's a lot of similarities. We did this totally independent of each other. A lot of similarities with a couple notable differences.
Yeah.
I don't have any bones to pick with anything you have here. I feel like the Big 12 is just roll the dice.
Sure.
So I had my reasoning for Arizona State. You have your reasoning for Baylor. It is what it is, and who knows what's going to come out of there. But overall, I like it. And I would just say, I know you're going to talk about matchups here.
Yeah.
I just have to say, with Penn State and Boise State matching up again, I have to point out, when I talked to Coach Spencer Danielson, I think it was just after we went, the camera went down.
Yeah.
Him and I were just chatting. He was like, "We want Penn State." He told me.
Oh, is that right?
Hopefully it's okay, Coach, that I can say this because I don't know if it was supposed to be off the record, but he said, "We want another shot at Penn State this year." Of course. Competitive guy. So I think it would be pretty amazing to see it again.
Well, let me talk quickly about Baylor.
Okay.
Because I think Arizona State's going to have another good season. I think, and they're not a one-hit wonder type of deal. I think they are going to have another good season. But when I looked at schedules here for Baylor, and I've liked Baylor here for a while. Like, been a little bit disappointing. So maybe I'm speaking out of two sides of my mouth. I'm not trusting PSU, but I am trusting Baylor. But Baylor doesn't play Texas Tech, the team that's making all kinds of noise because of their whatever you want to call that, transfers. I'll be polite. Transfers of players. They don't play them. They get both Arizona State and Kansas State at home. So and when you look at their out of conference, I mean, I like the schedule for Baylor. And they have a good, it's not just schedule. They got a good team too. So I just like the way that kind of shaped up a little bit more for Baylor there. So that's why I picked them. Of course, maybe in terms of matchups, I've got Bama versus Illinois. Of course, Bama getting the home game in mind, where you had Illinois getting a home game a little bit higher. I do have Clemson in the first round. They're getting a home game versus Baylor. That's that ACC Big 12 matchup. I think that would be a lot of fun to see that in the first round. And then you've got Tennessee versus Oregon. Oregon would be traveling to Tennessee, and then we talked about the Boise-Penn State thing. But, a lot of fun to do these because you look at what could be, and of course we're both going to be wrong. And I think the teams overall are solid. If we can get, maybe both of us get 9, 10 each, I'd be pretty darn happy. But, a couple of these conferences, you just don't know.
We both have Tennessee getting a home game.
Yes.
I think it'd be really interesting. Last year they had to travel to Columbus.
Yes.
This year, that whole Rocky Top setting, and maybe Peyton Manning will be there, and they got the Coon Hound, and they're playing the Welcome Rocky Top, whatever, that whole song.
Yep.
I think that'd be a really interesting environment to see a playoff game. Last year we saw Notre Dame host a playoff game. That was a pretty awesome environment. So I'm hoping to see some new first round locations this year. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Well, we both have Tennessee as being the second highest SEC team.
Yes.
I can guarantee you, whoever that second highest SEC team will be, they will have a first round home game. Like, there's no way the number 2 SEC team is below, in my opinion, the numbers.
So I don't want to correct you.
What did I do?
Because this is just another SEC bias thing. We have third. They're the third. But it's still, because it's the SEC.
That's right.
It's probably good enough to get them a home game.
I kind of skipped over Texas, number 1. So Texas, Georgia, 1 and 2. Yes, Tennessee is a number 3. And yes, they will get probably another home.
Yeah. So I think that was just another. Everybody gives the SEC the benefit of the doubt. It's what happens.
Well, in fairness, Steve, you also give the Big Ten 3 home games. Yes, I give them 2. Yep. So I'm a little less likely on the Big Ten.
Yep.
But, all right. Well, that is our CFP rankings. Let us know what you think, or predictions. Let us know what you think, maybe which ones we got right, which ones we got wrong, who you like coming out of the Big 12, probably the biggest flip of the coin, and maybe the G6, although I believe everybody believes Boise's probably most likely here moving forward. So, hey, with that, we have tons of content coming up leading up to the kickoff of Week 0 in a few weeks. We have our schedule packed full of all kinds of great content, so make sure you give this one a like and subscribe if you like our content, and we'll see you next time on The Big Mountain.